Ian, welcome to the Z Learning Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Deb, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. So let's get into it. What is your elevator pitch for Restore Skills? If you had to explain it in just a few words, how would you explain your platform?
Most importantly, we are changing the way healthcare is being delivered in terms of skill building. If you are somebody who needs rehabilitation services or you're just trying to maintain those skills that you do have, Restore is a product that we've developed a wonderful platform that all you need is access to the internet and a device with a webcam, and we can turn it into a skill building station that would work on mobility, range of motion, coordination, cognition, life skills, and more in a fun way. Nobody likes to lift weights. Nobody wants to be asked to do something they don't have the motivation for, but they will pull a virtual slot machine. They will ski, they will fly a plane, and you can do all these things without actually having to go to the ski slope or being able to go to. And yet, there's also some wonderful skills that we do need, such as medication management, money management practice, home safety needs. And so this platform is wonderful, whether it's hospital-based, whether it's post-acute care-based or community-based. We are developing a platform that can be used for anyone who is in need of skill building in a fun way.
Wow, it sounds really versatile. So let's get into a few examples, maybe even places where people have used it, maybe in a senior living community. What kind of things can users do, and what kind of skills does the platform work on, and what kind of things do they do? What kind of activities? It sounds like there's a lot of gamification involved.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, my background, again, I've been in the senior living space as a therapist for over 26 years, also 20 years as a dementia capable certified therapist. So I wanted to help develop something that was going to be engaging, but also very easy to use. We've tried some things over the years in the industry, like the Wii, but it was very complicated, and people loved it, and I think it's great. But the controller, and you wear it around your wrist, and buttons and batteries, and no one understands how to do that. So we have really developed some wonderful features with Restore that allow you to use any red, green, or blue object that the webcam will detect and turn it into a controller. So it could simply be a ball, or it could be something more functional, like a brush or a cup or a hat. So depending on what you're targeting, what skills you're targeting, therapists and activities directors and nurses, they have the ability to kind of utilize this approach to address the things that are most pressing. And in the space, it's really about helping people improve on their quality measures. You really want to be able to prevent falls. Falls are the number one reason why people end up getting hospitalized and have a decline that lasts. But fall prevention, pain management, declines in mobility that impact their self-care or their ability to get around. Then there's behaviors that people are having. And if you are sedentary, you tend to also develop some skin and muscle and joint issues that can easily be prevented by having someone engage you. So that's really the audience we're looking for. So in whether you're in a skilled nursing facility, an assisted living facility, an outpatient experience, home care, or hospital, we are enabling clinicians to go in with a laptop, an iPad, a tablet. They don't need anything special. It's all software as a service based. So as soon as they can access the internet, they log in and they immediately have over 200 different games and activities, all structured in an easy to use and a fun experience.
That is really cool. So it seems like it would open the world of the person using it, and they can build skills while having fun at the same time. I'm sure most of my listeners are curious. So what kind of game offerings are there? Does it, you said it's very easy to use. So it has a clinician working alongside them, right? Explain how that works a little bit, and what kind of game offerings they can play with.
Well, as a clinician, the first thing I like to do is learn about you. What are your interests, preferences, habits, tendencies, work history, family history, because I want to do something that's going to be meaningful and engaging for you. So if you like sports, if you like adventure, if you like animals, if you like gambling, I'm going to have something that's going to complement the approach to get you excited. So I'm not going to, our number one game on the platform is a virtual slot machine. I don't know what that says about society, but I know it would probably be my favorite game as well. So you do have the ability to pull a handle with your upper extremities. You could do it by doing a squat and working within a sit to stand type of a range. You could use your lower extremities. You could have two people, one working on one skill, one working on another, but they're working together as a team. I think just the aspects of having fun and socializing, that's really what society is telling us is needed right now to keep people engaged from a community and a health standpoint. You look at Peloton, you look at the Mirror, these are all coming up with these ways to make exercise fun and engaging. And we're doing the same thing for our most vulnerable adult population, those who are needing someone to advocate for them. They need that help. And with obviously the challenges with our pandemic, it's limited the ability for family members to be able to visit and provide that supplemental support for their. So what we've been able to do as a virtual platform is we can actually invite family members or friends to join a session, whether it's Zoom or Teams or the video chat within our platform, where they can see their loved one, they can offer encouragement, they can even play some of the games interactively with them from the safety of their own homes. So it really helps provide that motivation and that fun experience. Now I mentioned a slot machine. I mentioned a skiing game. We've got rock climbing. We have games that will focus a little bit more on cognitive function as well, whether it's memory, problem solving, sequencing. But again, it's done in a way that you don't even realize you're working on those skills. You're just trying to get the best score or get the most points or just get the star or the flashing gem so that it helps you give you something. And next thing you know, you've been standing for 3 minutes or 5 minutes when you were only standing for 30 seconds. You've been moving around for 5 minutes when, as a therapist previously, when I asked you to brush your teeth or comb your hair, something you weren't overly interested in, you gave me maybe 5 seconds of effort and then you were too tired and you quit. But then you played with me an interactive game for 5 minutes. Now I know when I come back to that self-care session, I know what you really can do.
That is really cool. So I'm sure the pandemic was a big factor in this, and it enables people, let's say in an assisted living facility where that maybe their loved ones can't even visit them, they can play with their loved ones virtually, remotely, or against other residents. There could be sort of a fun social or even competitive and team kind of camaraderie there. How did your skills in the field of being an occupational therapist, how did they inform your creation of Restore Skills? And did you start around the time of the pandemic? Was it a reaction to that? Or what kind of led you to build this platform?
Oh, great questions. First of all, just my personal experience, my grandmother did end up having to go to an assisted living facility, a skilled nursing facility. She had Alzheimer's, macular degeneration. And when I would actually go and I would visit her, it wasn't uncommon that I would see her in just a large day room with maybe a movie playing, Sleepless in Seattle, that she couldn't see, she couldn't hear. So she was slouched. She would have, resting her face on her fist and not engaged with anyone or anything. And so I knew I needed to help not just my grandmother, but help put something in place that would help people have that more purposeful experience. Now, I would take it was before Restore, I would take my grandmother down to the cafeteria, and she used to love playing solitaire. So she could still deal out the cards perfectly. Occasionally, I still had to help her put the red 7 on the black 8, but that was about it. Now, she couldn't really communicate, but she would look at me and she would smile and she would attempt to verbalize and she would grab my leg and squeeze my leg and just, she knew it was me and she knew that, and we were having a good experience together, and I was helping keep her skills in, where we needed to keep her skills. And I would have even other family members that didn't know how to make that visit meaningful or enjoyable, because she couldn't remember if you had changed jobs, if you had a different change in your relationship, how the kids were doing. That wasn't something she was going to be able to process. It was more about taking what was, historically or long-term meaningful, procedural for her, and being able to put her in a position to have success. The one thing my grandmother really loved to do was to be able to get away once a month and go to Atlantic City and play slots. So it was the first game that we really worked on, because that was our favorite thing to do. And what if I would have been able to have a virtual slot machine right there in that same cafeteria that we could have been playing and laughing and having fun about? So that's kind of the motivation. One other good story before the pandemic, and I'll get to that part of the question, but when we were first rolling out Restore, we went to a skilled nursing facility, and I got to meet a lady named Ann. She was 88 years old. She was, unfortunately, her health had changed, so she was having more difficulty with her mobility and getting around. And I got the opportunity to try to introduce Restore to her. I learned what things she was interested in, and she loved nature. She loved the outdoors. So we were playing a game where essentially she was helping different animals cross a bridge to get over a river, but you're raising your arm up and down or your body up and down to be able to control that bridge. And she was using a controller that was a little red ball that she had in her hands. Yeah, she wasn't really smiling. I wasn't getting the best engagement, but just then I heard these two grandchildren, it was actually her great grandchildren, rush into the room. Grandma, we want to play. Now she sat down, and the smile on her face went through the roof, because that was really what was most meaningful for her, was togetherness with her family. At that point in time, her granddaughter tapped me on the shoulder and said, "What is this? What is this?" And I began to try to explain what Restore was. She said, "Because my son, who's sitting on my grandmother's lap, is autistic. He's never come into the room before. He's never gotten that. She's never even held him before. Whatever this is, I got to recreate it." Now, I'm not saying that Restore played the role in that engagement, but if I had any part to play in that, it was amazing. And the connection between today's generation, which is so digital, so game and video oriented, and a generation that simply values time with their loved ones, now we're actually seeing this as a great communication tool to kind of bridge that gap. We did not create Restore for the pandemic. Restore existed before the pandemic. It actually started as a platform in Israel for kids with special needs. That may be why there was some gravitation there of interest. When it came to the United States about 3 years ago, I had the opportunity to be a co-founder to kind of help channel the product towards an older adult market from my background standpoint. So we really are about 3 years now. We're into 33 different states and close to 500 locations, and it's really taken off because all the features were pandemic friendly. You really, you have the ability to access it on any device, anytime, anywhere. We talked about the virtual connectivity to help people get up and trained, very easily. To start using the platform, you don't have to have any special software or special hardware to really be able to enjoy it. As many people can be using it at the same time without kicking each other off. So Zeb, if you were on the Wii, as much fun as you were having, if I wanted to use it, I had to wait till you were finished, and then maybe I lost interest, right? With Restore, everybody can utilize it at the same time, and families who are enjoying it, we can even help them go home with the platform at no added cost to them, because that's an end goal for us, is to make sure people are having fun and skill building and staying out of the hospitals.
Oh, wow. That's excellent. There's so many interesting things to get into there. And, I thought of a question while you were speaking. Your platform works on cognitive, fine motor skills. And you talked about examples of people who are stimulated and engaged playing games. I'm wondering, is there any science or anything that maybe shows that suggests that gamification or playing games, anything with games or sports or any kind of activity like that, keeps a person sharp and maybe prevents or delays cognitive decline. Is there anything about that?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. There's wonderful evidence-based research to be able to show that you are able to limit the advancement. You're never going to be able. It's not a cure, okay, but you are able to slow or delay the progression of that that illness, that condition. Not just recently, the FDA actually approved the first video game for the treatment of ADHD in, I believe, kids that were 7 to 9 years old. And that was groundbreaking. It's the first time the FDA has approved a video game as a treatment approach. And I think it's just the tip of the surface. You know, my interest in Alzheimer's, there's a game that's called Sequest Hero. What people have discovered is that the early predictor for Alzheimer's is that you first lose your navigation skills. So it's a game where you're controlling a vessel and you don't realize that you're playing a game, but it actually is an early detector for Alzheimer's. And you know what wonderful, during the pandemic itself, Johns Hopkins University, they were utilizing video game and gamification and virtual reality as part of their recovery, helping their recovery process, not just for COVID, but also they expanded to stroke and brain injury and are having great success. So absolutely, there is just wonderful, but it's still an emerging space. It is here now, but it's still an emerging space to kind of, help people understand that this is a real category. Gamification of skill building, gamification of rehab. You probably haven't heard that category. It's being established now, and that's fun. That's exciting for us.
Well, that's really exciting that you're on the cutting edge, a pioneer of this field, and how timely. I just realized that as we are recording this right now, it's actually Alzheimer's Awareness Month. And you mentioned ADHD. I actually have ADHD myself, so that definitely got my attention, which isn't easy to do, but very, very cool. So yeah, I'm curious, what has been the response from users, from clinicians, from family members? Are people, you highlighted that one story, which was really great. Are people more engaged? Are they more excited about therapy now? What has been the response and the feedback in the market?
The most positive, it's fun. People look forward to it. One of the biggest challenges that we experience is when people refuse services that they definitely need. So if I'm coming down and you perceive that I'm asking you to do exercise or work on something that's going to be labor intensive, you think it's going to hurt, you may just want to refuse the service and leave me with no option but to just come back a couple times and try. What we have found is that our clients who are utilizing Restore have drastically reduced the number of refusals because people are not seeing it as therapy. They're not seeing it as exercise. They're seeing it as something fun and not even understanding the additional benefits that we've already mentioned. So it helps to reduce the refusals, to promote more active engagement, and the socialization aspect. With the pandemic, and then where we had to isolate people who were already vulnerable, you're really bringing on risks of social isolation and a true accelerated decline in their health. And so the mission has really been for they're helping to mitigate the risks of isolation because they can take the laptop, they can take an iPad, they can go to an individual's room or home, and they're able to utilize that in a very easy fashion. So people are looking forward to it. They're participating. They're standing longer, moving more. It's a wonderful success. You mentioned about tournaments and things like that. We have built in a mode. We had the Olympics this year, and one of the best things is that you can play an Olympic-style event where you pick a different game each day, and we've tiered it to where it was gold, silver, and bronze. You also have the ability to maybe do a bingo tournament or a Plinko tournament or something of that nature just for the day and let people have fun and get some recognition. And I was shocked to see how many people are really, I shouldn't be, but how many people are so competitive. And we shouldn't, just because someone is living or is in an assisted living facility, or that's who we're those. We are all those people, right? And so I'm competitive. I know you are. And so it was great. I want to play against somebody, but maybe I'm limited to being in my room. Well, now I can actually join a game live with other people across the Restore network. There isn't any audio video for that part just because of HIPAA. You need to be confidential in the, protect individual privacy. But there is a mode where if I know the parties I'd like to invite, maybe it's the individual's spouse or their grandson, or maybe it's just residents who haven't been able to see each other, I can still connect them through the platform. We had a really great story of two sisters who were inseparable, and the pandemic separated them. And we had a wonderful recreation team at a location that two of them, they each went to each sister's room, and they got them on the screens together, and you're able to see them. And I thought, well, surely they're going to play bingo, they're going to play slots. Nope, they wanted to play Football Frenzy, which is almost like an air hockey, but a football player oriented game, because they loved sports. And they were competitive, and you would be surprised with the trash talking. You play as well as your hair, Gladys. I mean, it was just great to see them having fun. It was all G-rated, trash talking, but they were really competitive. They were having fun, and they got to see and have that touch point with one another that had been such a challenge. So, this is just really just been amazing, the success stories that we're hearing.
That is amazing. I actually, from personal experience, my other grandmother of blessed memory, she lived in an assisted living facility. She had Alzheimer's. She also, even until the disease really progressed, even when she still had it, she really loved sports. She was always athletic. She was great at playing tennis and football and basketball. Even until older age, she would have definitely loved a platform like this. I almost wonder if it could have slowed the progression of the disease. And my other grandmother, who is going to be turning 91 actually next week, she happens to be an avid poker player. She plays online poker all the time, and sometimes I think that has kept her very sharp, and I think it provides a lot of stimulation and entertainment. So I really see the power of games. Now, to those who might think, okay, older people, older generation, they're not as tech savvy, and you said you take all the work out of it. It's very user friendly. But are we seeing, as the more people of the greatest generation begins to leave us, and the baby boomer generation begins to age up, and when we think of older people, we're thinking, a lot of us still thinking of like the World War II generation, but a lot of people now going into assisted living, and facilities like that are from the baby boomers, people born in the late 40s. Have you seen more of a demand or an interest in tech solutions for this demographic than previous generations?
Yeah, what a great question. The short answer is yes. We are evolving from the crossword puzzle, Scrabble, jumble word search to the Candy Crushers, right? To those who, again, not too complicated. It's not Fortnite or anything that's overly complicated, but you see it everywhere you go. Whether you're in a waiting room, whether you're on an airplane, whether you're, in my case, on the subway, I'm always seeing somebody playing something on their phone or their tablet. And I'm not surprised any longer that person is an older adult. And so absolutely, when people are coming to assisted living facilities and skilled nursing facilities, they are bringing their laptops and their tablets, and they are trying to use, and phone, they're using that as a source of communication and also entertainment. And why not skill building, on top of that as well. So I think, yes, we are seeing people that are more interested in technology, but remember, the technology itself is not really what the key is. It's how it's engaging you. what gamification is about, leaderboards and badges and points, and helping me to be able to demonstrate progress over time. The other thing that's wonderful about our platform is that we are capturing data, such as the number of movements, how long you've been sitting or standing, how far left or right you are leaning, and you can be able to look at progress over time so that you can sense the improvement that an individual is making. And we do have reports and tools that really are helpful for, as I said, the clinicians to be able to make sure that they're documenting that it's a skilled service, because you do need to be able to have the skills of the clinician as a part, whether they're helping with physical assistance, cognitive assistance, but I have to document those things in order to know that I wasn't just there playing games, right?
Right. Yeah, that's great. So you basically answered my next question. That yes, it's fun. Yes, it's a great user experience, which I think also makes it more effective because less refusals, people are more engaged. But from the clinician's perspective, it's user friendly, and also there are ways to track relevant data points and metrics so that they can actually see the results, which I think is really cool. Just if you could elaborate, what are a few things that are usually important to clinicians that you can track and measure on the Restore
Yeah.
Skills platform?
Well, movement and time are, if I'm just going to simplify it, movement, time, and success rate. So each activity that someone's going to do is going to require some degree of movement over time. So the more movements I'm doing over time, in theory, the better I'm progressing for the skills that I require for activities of daily living. And the success rate, how am I, yes, it was great that I moved all those times, but did I also experience success within the activity itself? That's really part of the key. There are also other benefits, such as if I have an individual who is in pain. Isn't that the worst? When you're in pain, you can't really think of anything else. It consumes you. So I don't want to do anything because I don't want, everything hurts. Now, with what they typically are doing today, and we all have heard about this opioid crisis, the overprescribing and addictiveness of pain medication, and what a real concern it is from a society.
Yeah.
Right. And so here, what we have found is if I'm able to distract you and engage you with something that's meaningful and fun, because typically, I'm not saying for all mental health conditions, but typically one of the best things to do when you are in discomfort is not to baby it, but to be able to continue to work on your range of motion, your strength building. It might be musculoskeletal, to where that's something you want to not, or your muscles end up atrophying, your posture gets worse, and it actually makes the pain even worse. So we want people moving, we want typically people working through it, but we are all empathetic to pain. Now, if for that time that you were working with Restore, you were focused more on the activity and not on your pain, and you're able to get through those skills and not deal with the side effects of those medications and the risks that were involved, that's a huge win to reduce the pharmacological approaches and be able to have people doing these things that are going to actually inevitably get them out of that state.
That's incredible. So what's next for Restore Skills? Are you right now? Are you fundraising? Are you expanding to new facilities? Any new cool, exciting features or games that you're rolling out? Fill us in on what's next and what's going on with Restore Skills now.
Thank you so much. We really have been experiencing some wonderful growth, and I look at that as that means that the product is being valued, the platform is being valued. People are seeing this, they think it's neat and wonderful, and then when we help them experience from the alignment through the onboarding and adoption to the success phase and the success stories that they're having, and then they're telling others, and so our growth has been great. We really have been adding to our team in all aspects, from a customer clinical success standpoint, from a business development standpoint, but also from a just product development standpoint, because we're getting a lot of wonderful feedback from clinicians and families and the users, the players themselves. Are we patients and residents we refer to as players. They're giving us feedback on the kinds of new games and new activities and things that they want to see and how they can better utilize it on a day-to-day basis. We have a basketball game, we have a pinball machine game, we have we just put a grocery grab game on the platform, which essentially helps me. I'm going to an outdoor market and I have a grocery list of items and I have to decide, am I going to the produce department? Am I going to the deli? And then it takes me through a checkout experience. And so some of the games really lend themselves well to like a supermarket sweep or a shootout if you're using the basketball game and things like that. And so that's really been what we've been asked to do, is to produce content and features and then help the users, the therapists, the activities team members, et cetera, help them be able to more quickly get to the content that's most meaningful to them. So we are really building in a better community rewards. It recognizes you, whether you're a physical therapist, you're an activities director, you're a nurse. It recognizes you when you come to the platform. It welcomes you back. It challenges you to try out some new things. So you're not only playing the slot machine all the time, you're expanding your understanding of the platform itself and what could be valuable. So really for us, that's our number one thing right now, is trying to make sure that we put a value-added product that offers a wonderful solution. There's a lot of challenges in the industry, and not just healthcare, but let's stick with healthcare for a minute. Staffing.
Yeah, so especially now.
Especially now, and everybody's talking about it. I don't have the kind of personnel who can deliver the care the traditionally way that we used to. I need some more innovative, more non-traditional approaches that I can help keep people engaged and practicing and skill building and so on throughout the day without having to make it labor intensive, and we're able to offer that kind of a solution. So that's where we are today. It is a business to business solution. And I think the future for us, though, is also to then become business to consumer for people who maybe didn't have a stay at a skilled nursing facility or assisted living, but they went home. And it's not just, I want to wait for a therapist or a nurse to come out 2 days a week for 30 minutes. I have things I need to work on. So we want Restore to be able to be that solution for when people are returning back to the community, that they have as an alternative maybe to the therapy or nursing or activities that they would have been offered in a location.
And that's definitely a fast growing demographic. Well, it sounds like Restore Skills is not just restoring skills, but people's quality of life. And I think all the work you're doing is incredible. And thank you so much for being on the Z Learning podcast and sharing your story with us, Ian. I hope to have you on again soon.
Thank you so much for having me, and I really appreciate your interest and also your passion for helping bring this kind of innovation and education to your listeners. So appreciate it.
Thank you.